Frozen ready meals promise a complete dinner in just a few minutes. Peanut butter alone rarely drives excess sugar intake, but it does contribute to the daily total. 3 minutes in a microwave. That convenience depends on a very specific formulation. Ready meals are engineered to survive freezing, reheating, and months of storage. This is Grocery Science. Today, we look at what is really inside frozen ready meals.
A single frozen entree can contain over 700 milligrams of sodium.
Portion control looks similar on the surface, but the ingredient list rarely matches. By the end of this video, you will read that frozen meal label very differently. Frozen meals can fit a busy life. Understanding the label helps you choose wisely. Sodium is added to frozen meals for flavor, texture, and preservation all at once. Freezing and microwave reheating both reduce perceived flavor intensity compared to fresh cooking.
Manufacturers often compensate for that flavor loss by increasing sodium levels significantly.
A sodium comparison across ready meal categories found frozen pizza and entrees among the highest. Sodium content across frozen meals can range from around 300 to over 1,300 milligrams. Health guidelines recommend adults limit sodium to about 2,300 milligrams daily. A single high-sodium frozen meal alone can use more than half that daily limit. Regular high-sodium intake is associated with elevated blood pressure and cardiovascular risk. Sodium also lowers water activity, helping prevent microbial growth during extended frozen storage. Sodium-containing additives also help control texture, moisture, and consistency after reheating. Sauce-heavy meals, like Alfredo or teriyaki styles, tend to carry the highest sodium levels. For frozen meals overall, sodium is generally the single most important number to check first. Fat content varies widely across frozen meals, largely depending on sauce type used. Cream and cheese-based sauces generally carry more saturated fat than tomato-based options. A single rich, cream sauce frozen meal can approach a full day's saturated fat limit. Calorie counts vary substantially, from around 300 to over 600 per meal. Many frozen meals are portioned smaller than what an average adult would eat for dinner. Feeling unsatisfied after a small portion can lead to additional snacking shortly afterward. Some frozen meals are calorie-dense, but relatively low in fiber and protein. Fiber and protein both play a significant role in feeling satisfied after a meal. Higher protein frozen meal options are generally more satisfying than low protein alternatives. Checking protein content per meal helps predict how satisfying that meal will actually be. Starch-based fillers like rice, pasta, or potato are often used to bulk portions affordably. Vegetable portions in many frozen meals are often smaller than the starch or protein portion. Comparing vegetable and starch weight on the label reveals the meal's true composition balance. Adding a side vegetable can meaningfully improve a frozen meal's overall nutritional balance. Calorie density, fiber, and protein together give a clearer picture than calories alone. Preservatives help frozen meals maintain flavor and safety across months of frozen storage. BHA and BHT are synthetic antioxidants that prevent fats in frozen meals from turning rancid. Some animal studies have raised questions about these compounds at very high doses. However, the data isn't conclusive. It warrants further investigation. Regulatory agencies currently classify these preservatives as safe within approved usage limits. Modified starches help sauces maintain consistent texture through freezing and later reheating. Autolyzed yeast extract is a common flavor enhancer, functioning similarly to free glutamate. Some frozen meals include artificial colors to maintain a consistent, appealing visual appearance. Certain synthetic dyes have been studied for possible links to behavioral effects in some children. Regulatory conclusions on this topic vary somewhat by country, with reviews still ongoing. Some brands now offer versions without artificial colors for shoppers who prefer to avoid them. Manufacturers test meal texture repeatedly to ensure consistency across long frozen storage periods. Some reduced sodium meals use potassium chloride as a partial substitute for regular salt. Reduced sodium versions can lower total sodium by several hundred milligrams per serving. Comparing ingredient list length across similar meals often reveals meaningful processing differences. Shorter ingredient lists generally signal fewer additives, though not always better overall nutrition. Most commercial frozen-ready meals are classified as ultra-processed foods under NOVA. Ultra-processed foods combine industrially modified ingredients rarely used together in home cooking. Large cohort studies have linked higher ultra-processed food intake to increased chronic disease risk. These studies show associations. They generally cannot prove that processing alone caused the outcome. One study found a correlation between ready-made meal consumption and increased obesity incidence. Overall dietary pattern, activity level, and other lifestyle factors also influence these outcomes. Researchers generally emphasize that consumption frequency matters more than any single frozen meal choice. Occasional frozen meals within a varied diet differ meaningfully from daily reliance on them. Some frozen meal brands now emphasize simpler, more recognizable whole food ingredients. These options typically show shorter ingredient lists and lower sodium than standard convenience meals. Adding a side salad or vegetable helps balance a frozen meal's overall nutrient profile. Frozen-ready meals are also widely used in institutional settings, like hospitals and schools. Frozen meals exist on a spectrum, from heavily processed to relatively simple and whole. Comparing brands directly, not assuming all frozen meals are equal, leads to better choices. Understanding these patterns lets you choose frozen meals intentionally, not just automatically. High-protein claims still require checking the actual grams listed on the nutrition panel. Terms like light or lean must meet specific regulatory thresholds for fat or calories. Gourmet-sounding names do not necessarily indicate different sodium or preservative levels. Gourmet or restaurant style. Serving size print is often smaller than the marketing description printed above it. Flipping the box over remains the most reliable way to verify a front label claim. Health-sounding icons and colors do not always reflect the actual nutrition facts panel. Checking sodium alongside calories gives a more complete picture than calories by themselves. Comparing several brands side by side often reveals surprisingly large sodium differences. Some products labeled all natural still contain several synthetic preservatives and additives.
Marketing language strongly shapes how healthy a frozen meal appears, independent of its actual sodium content.
Check sodium first, check protein and fiber, and consider adding a side vegetable. Choosing meals under roughly 600 milligrams of sodium supports a lower daily total. Adding extra vegetables before microwaving boosts fiber and volume at very little cost. Pairing a frozen meal with a side salad helps balance the overall dinner's nutrition. Choosing higher protein options generally leads to feeling more satisfied after the meal. Frozen meals remain generally less expensive per serving than restaurant delivery options. A few extra seconds reading the label can meaningfully change what ends up on the plate. Knowledge about ingredients is not about fear. It is about informed, confident choices. We started this video with a simple tray from the freezer aisle. Behind every frozen-ready meal is a formulation built for speed, shelf life, and flavor. The evidence shows sodium and protein content are the two numbers most worth comparing. That understanding gives you a real choice, rather than just a convenient one. At Grocery Science, we examine food through evidence, not to generate fear. Coming up, more grocery aisle staples, examined the same way, one ingredient list at a time. Thank you for watching Grocery Science. Stay curious, stay informed.